The Pittsburgh Steelers have another offensive weapon, and that is Iowa running back Kaleb Johnson. He is the Steelers' third-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Welcome into Bleav in Steelers. My name is Mark Bergin, and I will share my thoughts from day 2 of the 2025 NFL Draft. Shedeur Sanders is still undrafted after day 1 on Thursday, day 2 on Friday. We'll get into that and the quarterbacks picked ahead of him. But first, Kaleb Johnson helps complement Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. More scat backs, a little bit more undersized. Kaleb Johnson, 6'1", 220 and some change, a one-cut runner. It's this type of runner that the Steelers are replacing with the departure of Najee Harris to the Los Angeles Chargers. And when you look at the tape, I think that Johnson is able to get to the edge a little bit more consistently and a little bit more fluidly than Najee Harris was able to for several years in Pittsburgh. But you look, 224 pounds, a 4.57 in the 40. But this was also a player that opposing Big Ten defenses keyed on, considering the fact that Iowa didn't have much of an offense around Kaleb Johnson. So the upside with him is that you're getting a different style runner. Again, you need someone to complement both Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell, but someone who has a knack for finding space at the second level. And that's something that the Steelers have struggled with in running the football. And I like this pick for the Steelers in helping continue to load up the offense, but we're now entering day 3 of the draft, and Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson remain your 2 quarterbacks under contract as Shedeur Sanders continues to slide here in the draft. So I'll get to that in just a second, but Kaleb Johnson, again, I like this pick for the Steelers. I liked a few of the other running backs ahead of him. Obviously, everyone had Ashton G&T and Omarion Hampton ahead of Johnson, the 2 Ohio State running backs. But this was a player in Johnson who had a knack for getting to the second level, 10-yard gains, 20-yard gains. He's not going to bust out like a 60-yard gain, an 80-yard gain. Doesn't have that type of speed, but his ability to get to the second level and to have good vision, despite the lack of top-end speed, was something that I think the Steelers are getting a good running back in Johnson. So having said that about him, and we'll see what type of role he plays as a rookie, given the experience that Jaylen Warren and Gainwell have. Again, I think he'll complement them well. The question going into day 3 is, what the hell is going on with the slide of Shedeur Sanders? And I cannot believe he got by the second round. We get into the third round, and the Steelers had the opportunity to pick Shedeur. And they go with Kaleb Johnson instead. And now going into day 3, round 4, Shedeur Sanders is still available. Unbelievable to me. I could make the argument for Jackson Dart over Shedeur in the first round. I maybe could understand Tyler Show or Jalen Milroe ahead of Shedeur. Maybe. When the Cleveland Browns picked Dylan Gabriel in the third round at pick number 94, what is going on? I am just... Dylan Gabriel played at 3 different programs: Oklahoma, UCF, and Oregon. He's listed at 5'11". He's like a 5'10" quarterback. Anyone with 2 eyes knows, if you watch college football at all last year, Shedeur is not a worse player than Dylan Gabriel is. Like, I'm not even going to say that I'm sorry, but when you talk about how they project at the pro level, show me another undersized left-handed quarterback who's had a high level of success in the NFL. And Cleveland was like, oh, at 33, nah, we'll pick someone else. At 36, we'll pick someone else. At number 94, we'll pick someone else other than Shedeur. We're cool running with Kenny Pickett, with Joe Flacco, and now Dylan Gabriel, and an injured Deshaun Watson instead of drafting Shedeur. And the Steelers did the same thing in drafting Kaleb Johnson. And they're saying we're going to roll with Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson instead of Shedeur. I really don't understand it. I understand if you don't think he's a first-round grade, but to not go on day 2, Tyler Show gets drafted to the Saints, Milroe to the Seahawks. And there's that. But to go undrafted on day 2 is just unbelievable to me when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. I'm at a loss for the rationale there. So where does Shedeur fall to on day 3? Titans don't need a quarterback. They got Cam Ward. The Jags have 2 early picks on day 3, potentially there if you'd want to say, let's get a backup for Trevor Lawrence. Giants already got Jackson Dart. Patriots are good with Drake May. The Raiders at pick 108. Could Shedeur be a backup to Geno Smith? I thought Shedeur would be a good pick at the 6th pick for the Las Vegas Raiders. They can get him in the 4th round now. If he goes past the Raiders, like at this slide, I understand it if you're, say, the Giants. Brian Daboll is on the hot seat. If they have a bad year, you draft Shedeur, then the rumors are, is Deion Sanders coming for that primetime job at the NFL level to leave Colorado and then go coach at the NFL level. So if you're on the hot seat and you're a coach or an organization from that standpoint and you don't want to draft Shedeur, okay. If you didn't come across favorably in the pre-interview draft process, okay. But Dylan Gabriel drafted over Shedeur Sanders, I don't think there was a single person who could have mocked that. It's almost like March Madness when we're trying to fill out the brackets and the only person with the perfect bracket is like the fan of like the 15 seed that goes on a Cinderella run. I don't think anyone would have predicted this. I think you could have predicted that he would have slid. I said before the draft, I thought it was nuts if Shedeur Sanders slid all the way to the Steelers with the 21st pick, considering that other teams need quarterbacks in this league. I understand that this is not a rich quarterback class. I understand that 33% of Shedeur Sanders were either at or behind the line of scrimmage. But the Colorado Buffaloes had the ball out in every game that they won because they didn't have a great defense. They didn't have a good offensive line. So it was a team that couldn't run the football. And I understand that the college game doesn't always translate to the pros. I understand that. But Shedeur Sanders had to play at a high level for Colorado to be competitive. And if not for a late season loss, you would have seen Colorado in the CFP this past year. If Colorado wouldn't have lost their last regular season game, they would have either been in the CFP or right on the cusp of it. And so he gets passed by Dylan Gabriel, a guy who consistently missed throws because he overdrives on the football. If you actually go back and watch the tape dating back to his UCF days, dating back to his Oklahoma days before he got to Oregon, the Browns are saying he is a better quarterback prospect than Shedeur. I understand there's leadership components to the quarterback position. You got to be the face of the franchise, the CEO. This is crazy to me. So the Steelers had the opportunity to draft Shedeur in the 4th round. At some point, the Steelers are going to have to draft somebody. They're going to need to draft somebody at the quarterback position because you got 2 on the roster right now. So other quarterbacks that could be available to the Pittsburgh Steelers entering day 3 of the draft. Obviously, Shedeur still on the board. You've got, I'm pulling this up here now, Will Howard out of Ohio State, Quinn Ewers out of Texas, Kyle McCord out of Syracuse, Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame. I think Will Howard's probably the name that most Steelers fans would want from a consensus standpoint. I know there's Steelers fans out there that would want Shedeur. At this point, if it's a 4th round pick, that's heck of a lot different than Shedeur coming in as a 1st round pick. Now, you still get all of the fanfare and the hype and Deion and everything. Mike Tomlin's in a stable enough position with the organization that I don't think you need to worry about all of that from Pittsburgh's standpoint if you say, hey, Shedeur is going to be the pick there. But I look at the Raiders as a potential fit there for Shedeur Sanders. Something I want to mention with Kaleb Johnson was the explosive run rate. He had 32 rushes this past season for 20 yards or more at the collegiate level. And he had 65 rushes of 10 yards or more. And that might be throughout the course of his career. So 6.3% for 20 yards or more, 12.8% of 10 yards per more. So explosive run rates for Kaleb Johnson, something that he's equipped at doing. Again, is he going to rip off 40, 50, 60-yard, 80-yard touchdown runs? No, he's not that style of runner. But can he get to the edge? That's really the big thing. To be a chain mover, which I know some people said about Najee Harris, but can he get more than 4 yards to carry? That's really the big thing with this pick. But quarterback still remains a huge question because, again, you still have Skylar Thompson and Mason Rudolph. Now, maybe Aaron Rodgers is still in the fold. Maybe the Steelers have something there with the 41-year-old quarterback who's going to turn 42 during this season. I'm on record. I'll say this again. I think Aaron Rodgers is better than Mason Rudolph. Again, for what price? Is Aaron Rodgers really going to play for $10 million like he says on the Pat McAfee show, or is that figure going to be higher? I think it will be higher if he plays this coming season. But right now, it's the Steelers and no one else for Rodgers. But I still think that the Steelers have to do something to make sure that they at least have some depth at that position. And I think it's going to be one of the five, whether it's Shedeur Sanders, Will Howard, Quinn Ewers, Kyle McCord, or Riley Leonard. I think one of those wind up as a Pittsburgh Steeler after day 3 of the draft. But I still am just at a disbelief where the Steelers passed on Shedeur tonight. The Browns with 3 picks, I think, tonight that the Browns had. And instead they went and got Dylan Gabriel. Seahawks going to get Jalen Milroe. Shuck is well going tonight to the Saints, I believe it was, if I've got that right. Yeah, at pick number 40. It's unbelievable to me that Shedeur Sanders is still available after the first 2 days of the draft, considering the quarterback talent. Now, again, potential fit. The Steelers still need a quarterback because they've passed on Sanders now twice, once in the first round, again in the third round. The Raiders, strong ties to Brady. Remember, Shedeur Sanders worked out with Brady dating back to high school. When Brady was with the Tampa Bay Bucks, they worked out together down in Florida. They have a relationship and had one for years now. These is even before the Jackson State days with Shedeur Sanders. The Raiders passed on a quarterback at 3, 58, and 68. And again, with the Browns drafting Dylan Gabriel, I just think it's a crazy decision. I'm going to be on record saying that. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I don't think I will be. Unbelievable. My name is Mark Bergin. This is my draft reaction after day 2 of the NFL drafts. Got one more day, rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we'll see what the Pittsburgh Steelers do. The Steelers' next pick is going to be in the 4th round. And we'll see if by the time the Steelers pick at 123, is Shedeur still going to be there? I'm going to be honest, I'd be shocked if he were. I said this yesterday, though. I said I'd be shocked if Shedeur Sanders was going to be there by the time the Steelers picked in the 3rd round tonight. Steelers get Kaleb Johnson, the Iowa running back. So some more weapons for whoever the quarterback is going to be. And if it's Mason Rudolph guiding the Steelers' sleigh. Got some good weapons. Got some good weapons on the offensive side of the ball. DK, George Pickens, Freiermuth, stable of running backs. We'll see. Again, my name is Mark Bergin. Hope all of you have a terrific rest of your evenings. Enjoy the final day of the 2025 NFL Draft. I'll be back. I know on Monday, we'll see what the Steelers do in day 3. If there's something big like Shedeur, I'll probably pop on live here again. But I know I'll definitely be back on Monday, set to record with Arthur Moats, the former Steelers linebacker. So keep it here on Bleav in Steelers. If you enjoyed this show, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. And you can also financially support Bleav in Steelers by leaving a super chat as well. Always appreciate those. On Apple and Spotify, hit 5 stars for the Bleav in Steelers show. Again, my name is Mark Bergin. Have a great rest of your weekends. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care and so long, everybody.